Okay, so for the first two questions, we are solving using the order of operations. Can somebody remind me what is the order of operations? I hear y'all saying it, just you're saying it quietly. We've got that poster over there that has the order of operations. Good. Parentheses, then what? Exponents, then what? And division. Good. Those are kind of jumped together. They're bundled together. And then lastly, we have addition and subtraction. So you don't have to write this to the side, but if you want to use it as something to reference as you solve each problem to help you know which step to do first. Okay, let's look at the next section. So I was telling my other pre-algebra class, and it's going to be the same for you guys. Number 3 and 4 on your quiz tomorrow, since we didn't get a chance to go over that in depth, these are going to be bonus questions. If you get them right, it's bonus points. If you get them wrong, it will not count against you. So number 3 and 4, these are bonus. If you get them right, lovely. If you get them wrong, it's not going to kill you. Okay. So whenever we're solving these, you're going to have something like on number 3, 6 times x plus y. All you're going to do here is look at the x and the y that is already provided to you. X is 3, so we know we're going to be doing 6 times 3. Then our y is 2, so we're going to be taking that answer and adding 2 to it. And that's all we're doing. And we're going to go over that a little more in depth here in a minute. Let's just continue on kind of outlining the quiz so that we know what to expect. Okay. Now let's look at number 5 through 12. In these problems, the first 4, so 5, 6, 7, and 8, you are just adding and subtracting. You're just combining your like terms. So like for number 5, I have 7x plus 10x. Since they have the same variable attached, we can just add them together like normal numbers. And real quick, what would our answer be for that? 17. It would just be 17x. Don't forget to keep your variable. And that's our answer, because we don't know what x is here, so we're just going to leave it at that. We'll do the others here in a bit, but we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to label this section combining like terms, because this is exactly how it's going to look on your quiz tomorrow. So we're going to have a little key to look at. Combining like terms. And again, if anybody wants colors, I got markers over there on the shelf on the left side of the room. Got some colored pencils too. Feel free to use them. So that's just adding and subtracting. Okay, now for the other 4 on this first page, 9, 10, 11, and 12, you're also going to be combining like terms. But before you do that, we are going to be doing some distribution. So we see we've got some parentheses in here. We're going to label these 4 at the bottom. And some of you already have this labeled, so that's wonderful if you do. If not, just a little recap. So these bottom 4, we start with distribution. So I'm going to write distribute first. And after you're done with distribution, if there are like terms to combine, then you do that. So I'm going to write under here, combine like terms. Now, before we move on to the next page, let's talk about distribution. Make sure everybody is refreshed. It is a Monday. We'll look at number 9, the first problem in this section. We have 7, parenthesis, 2x plus 9. So can somebody remind me, what does it mean when I have a number sitting directly outside of some terms in parentheses?
Which one are you on?
Number 9 on the first page. Multiplication, good. Anytime you have a number next to something in parentheses, you are multiplying. So when we distribute, we are taking 7 times 2x and 7 times 9. So you don't have to write this part, but I'm going to write it out just so that we have a little reference for what we're doing. 7 times 2x, and then we have 7 times 9. Okay, now that we know what we're multiplying, what's our next step here? We're going to combine here. We've got 7 times 2x. What's that going to give us? 14x. So I would just write that right here. Plus, I have 7 times 9. What's that going to give me? 63. Okay, and my 14 has an x attached to it. My 63 has no variable attached to it. Are these like terms? No. So we cannot combine them. That is our final answer there. That's as far as we can go with that one. Okay. Now, let's flip to the back side, or if you have a stapled one, just go to the second page. And we are going to review one more time our polynomials. Okay, so to review that little key that we came up with the last time that we were here, we're just going to rewrite it again. Let me find my red marker first. Okay, so what I would like for you to write, if you have not already, is I'm going to put a little star, and we're going to say for subtraction. So if we have one where we're subtracting a polynomial, like right here, we have the first polynomial minus another one. So for subtraction, start by distributing the negative first. Exactly, exactly. And we will go through examples. Negative. We'll make sure everybody knows what that even means. Okay, now, once you have distributed the negative, or if you're looking at a problem that's just addition, like right here, we don't have a negative to distribute for number 15, for example. So here are the steps when there is no negative. Number 1, we want to group our like terms. And in order to group them, there's 2 little mini steps involved. First mini step is we like to draw lines to connect the terms. And then for the second little step, we are going to put those like terms in parentheses. Okay. So once we've completed step 1, along with the mini steps, drawing the lines and putting them in parentheses, we move on to step 2, which is just combining those like terms where we just add and subtract. We're essentially simplifying it. Combine like terms with addition and subtraction. Okay, I'll leave that up there for a second for people who are still writing. Then we have one more thing to label, and then we can start doing some actual math. Okay, so this is just another little key to help you out, kind of part of the cheat sheet. As a guide, number 14 and 16, those are our subtraction problems. So those are the ones that we're going to start by distributing the negative first. And then 13 and 15 are addition, so we don't have to do any distribution in these two. So that's just a little for your information, in case you want to be extra careful tomorrow.
Question.
Yes.
Alright, so like the negative 6x squared,
Mm-hmm.
and then compared with negative 3x squared,
Mm-hmm.
do I go negative 6x squared plus negative 3x squared, or?
Yes, exactly. And we'll run through a problem and make sure that we understand every single step, but you are correct. That's exactly right. Uh-oh. That's okay. That's okay. Okay. Does anybody else still need this little guide at the bottom? Okay. Here we are. We now have everything labeled. Here's what we're going to do today. We've got it labeled. We've got our things here. We're ready. I am just going to have you guys peek over this and you tell me what problem you want me to guide you through. What would we like to practice today? Yeah, let's do one of each. Absolutely. Okay, so in the first section, which one would we like to do? Number 1 or number 2? Number 2, let's do it. Okay, so we have for number 2, 5 times, parentheses, 8 minus 4, divided by 2 squared. So we're looking at our order of operations. What does our order of operations tell us we need to do first? Yes, what's in parentheses? We've got 8 minus 4. And 8 minus 4 is what? 4. So we're going to rewrite 4 directly under it. And then we don't want to lose any part of this problem. So we're going to drop everything down. I have 5 times 4 divided by 2 squared, or 2 to the second power. Okay. Now, what does the order of operations tell us to do next? The exponent. We have 2 squared. What is that going to be? It's going to be 4. We're just doing 2 times 2. That is 4. So we're going to write it directly under and then bring everything down. We still have 5 times 4 divided by a 4. So let's write that below. 5 times 4 divided by 4. Okay, now what? Multiplication. We're going to do 5 times 4, which is 20. We still have a divided by 4 to drop down. What's 20 divided by 4? 5. And that is your answer. Please circle your answers. Circle your answers. Okay, does number 2 make sense to everyone? Do we have any questions? Okay. Let's move on to this next section here.
You do 4.
Let's do 4. Absolutely. Okay, so let's remember what we're doing here. And I'm going to zoom in a little. Make sure y'all can see it okay. Let's refocus. Okay, so my problem here is a squared plus parentheses 6 minus b. So to keep track, I'm going to use colors, and I'm going to leave slots where I'm plugging in numbers. So I have a number squared plus parentheses 6 minus, and then whatever b is, and then I'm going to close that parentheses there. So let's go ahead and look at our variables. We know a is going to go right here. What is our a? 2. We found that right here. A is 2, so I'm just going to put a 2 right here. And then I know b goes right here. What's b? -3. So I'm going to put -3 in my parentheses there. So now I have 2 squared plus 6 minus -3. So we got to really pay attention to our signs here. 6 minus -3. Now we have our problem written out. What is our first step? What's in parentheses? So in our parentheses, we have 6 minus -3. You can use your calculator or your number line, whatever is helpful for you. What are we going to get for that? 6 minus -3. You get 9. Positive 9. Is anybody confused about how we got positive 9 for that? Okay, let's talk about that for a second. First, I'll show you the calculator way, and then I'll show you more of a visual explanation for why. So, on your calculator, if you want to type in this part of the problem, we're going to type in 6, or no, it's minus, sorry, I almost hit plus. 6 minus, right there. And our negative sign is at the bottom right hand over here. It's the little negative sign in parentheses. So I'm going to put the negative sign and then my 3 to show that it's 6 minus -3. Then when I enter, I'm going to get a positive 9 there. Okay. Now, if we want to see how that works on a number line, you can see the other class asked the same question. I'll erase this real quick. So what we're doing here is we're starting at 6. So this is our starting point right here. Now our problem is 6, let me get that right there, minus, so we're doing subtraction, so we're going to look at this side, -3. So are we subtracting a positive or a negative? We're subtracting a negative number. And it tells us here, when you subtract a negative number, you're going to move to the right on the number line. If you notice, subtracting a negative, that's going to behave the same way as adding a positive number. So we're going to move, because it's -3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to come up with positive 9 as our answer. So anytime you have two negatives directly next to each other like this, they're going to come together and turn into a plus. So you're really doing 6 plus 3 right here. A little refresher for y'all. Okay, does that make a little bit more sense to everybody? Okay, awesome. So let's move on. We now have 9 right here. And then we still have our 2 squared plus 9. What do we do next? Yeah, we got to do our exponents. So what is 2 squared? 4. We got 4 plus 9, and that is 13. 13, and then we circle it. Okay, any questions about number 4? All right, let's move on. How about for this section, we'll do number 6 or number 8. Which one do you guys want to see? Let's do number 8. That one looks a little scary. Okay, so when we are combining like terms, remember all we're doing is adding and subtracting, and we can only add and subtract terms that have the same variable on them. So I see my first term is a negative 10a, then I have a 6, then I have a 3, and then I have minus 3a. So I can see already I do have 2 terms that both have the letter A attached. So I'm going to connect those so I know that those are going to get put together. And then I have these 2 numbers in the middle that don't have variables. So I'm going to connect those with a different color because those are also going to get put together. Okay, so I know what I'm combining now. Let's go ahead and group the ones that go together. I'm going to start with the blue ones that I labeled. I've got negative 10a. And then I'm looking at the sign that's directly next to the number. I'm going to do that minus 3a. Okay. Is anybody confused up to this point?
Why the negative and not the plus?
Yeah.
Great question. So whenever we look at our terms that are all laid out like this, here's how we kind of want to look at them. We have a negative 10a. We're going to be adding 6. We're going to be adding 3. And we're going to be taking away 3a. So in order to put these together, we have to keep the signs that they were originally with. So we start with negative 10a, and then because that minus is right here next to the 3a, we keep it whenever we combine our like terms. So if it helps, I would put bubbles around them and just remember the symbol right directly to the left is going to stay with that number. Does that make sense? Doesn't make sense? Okay, so that's all right. So is it the fact that there's a plus right next to the 10 that's confusing?
Yeah, it's confusing to me because it's confusing.
Yeah, in number 4 it was added.
What's on number 4 again? Say that, Lewis.
No, yeah, number 4 it was adding it. It was
So the reason number 4 turned into addition is because we were subtracting a negative. And anytime we do something with a negative number, we're doing the opposite. So if it says I'm subtracting a negative, it's the same thing as adding. And we can also, remember, type it in on your calculator. You'll get that positive 9. Now as far as this here, we've got negative 10a minus 3a, and now that could also be looked at. Let me get another piece of paper to show you separately. Maybe this would make more sense.
So if to help my brain.
Yeah.
If it was subtraction first and then addition last, would it be addition?
Like,
Okay, like what if it was negative 10a minus 6? And then it would be plus 3 and then plus 3a. Would there be a plus instead of,
yes, so let me show you.
So now I get it.
So if our problem here was, it doesn't matter what the middle terms are because we're not looking at them, but let's pretend that this minus 3a, if it was a plus 3a, then when we put them together, because those symbols are attached, is what we kind of like to think of it as. When these get combined, it would be negative 10a plus 3a. The reason it's minus here is just because it's subtraction in the original problem. So we keep the original sign. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right. So, everybody with me up to this point? Okay, so we've combined our a's. Now let's look at the other terms we have here. We have plus 6, plus 3. What are we going to do with those? We're going to add them on to the end of this, absolutely. So I'm going to do 6 plus 3. Okay. Now we have them grouped. Let's go ahead and combine them. What are you going to get when you do negative 10a minus 3a? Negative 13a. Good. Negative 13a. What about 6 plus 3? 9. Plus 9. Absolutely. And these terms are not like terms. A is attached to a negative 13. 9 has no variable attached. So this is as far as we can go. And that's our answer. You're going to circle it. That is the whole answer. Number 10? Yeah, let's do number 10. Okay. So for number 10, we know that this is part of the problems where we distribute first and then we combine like terms, if there are any. So when we are distributing, we know that we are doing what operation? Multiplication. So my first problem is going to be that negative 12 times negative 2. And then my second problem is going to be negative 12 times 7x. So you can write these out or you can just do them in your head. I'm going to write them out just so that everybody can see the process. Negative 12 times negative 2. And then my other part is going to be negative 12 times 7x. Okay, let's solve the first part. What is a negative 12 times negative 2? Positive 24. Positive 24. When you multiply two negatives, you get a positive. I'll show you on here in case we forgot some. Negative 12 times negative 2, positive 24. So we're going to write that directly below. Now, what about negative 12 times 7x? Negative 84. So I'm going to write negative 12 times 7. Oops, I don't want that. Enter. Yep, negative 84. And don't forget our x. Yes, 84x. So because it's a negative number, negative 84x. And then that's as far as we can go. 24 does not have an x attached to it, so we cannot combine them. Okay.
So a question real fast.
Uh-huh.
You know, the negatives, do we only change them if it's a
Polynomial? So that's a great question. Whenever we can kind of think of it similarly here. Like we started with a negative 2 as our first term, and notice how when we multiplied by a negative, it did change it to a positive number. And then we had a plus 7x, but that negative changed it to a minus 84x. So anytime that we are distributing a negative number, it is going to change the sign of all of your terms inside. Yes, yes, always, always, always. That's a great question. Okay, any more of these that we would like to look over? I'm happy to go through some more. We got plenty of time today, guys. Let's do 11. If we have time, I would love to. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's look at number 11. We have -7 in parentheses around n plus 4. Then on the outside, we got plus 2. What's our first step? Distribute, which means we are doing what operation? Multiplication. So I'm going to do -7 times n, and that's going to give me what? Just -7n. Awesome. Now I've got -7 times +4. What's that going to give me? -28. So we're going to write -28. Are we done? No. We still got a +2. We don't want to forget about that. We're going to bring that down. Okay. Now we've done our distribution. Do we have any like terms that need to be combined? Ooh, yeah. So let's look at all of our terms one by one. I've got a -7 attached to the variable n. I've got a -28 with no variable. I've got a +2 with no variable. I've got 2 terms with no variables, so yes, we can put those together. So what is -28 plus 2? -26. Good. So we are going to write that down here, -26. And then we got to bring down that -7n minus 26 there. Okay. Yep, we can circle it. We cannot combine any further. Good. Okay, guys, just for fun, you want to do 12 also? Let's do 12. All right. We have 3p plus 3 times, in parentheses here, 3 plus 2p. What's our first step? Distribute. We got a number outside the parentheses, so we need to take this 3 times this 3, and then this 3 times 2p. So, first part, what is 3 times 3? 9. Good. And then what is 3 times 2p? Say that again. 6p. I thought I heard 6d. I was like, okay. Plus 6p. Perfect. Because 3 times 2 is 6, and we just keep the p on there. All right, are we done? No, we still have a 3p up here. So we can bring that down. And what should we do from here? Yeah, we need to combine our like terms. So I'm just going to use another color to show that. I've got a 3p and I've got a 6p. What am I going to do to combine these? I'm just going to add them together. I've got a plus right next to my 6p, and then 3p is positive. So I'm going to do 3p plus 6p. And I want to bring down that 9 so I don't lose track of it. All right, what is 3p plus 6p? 9p. And then I bring down my plus 9. Am I done now? I sure am. There's no more terms that I can combine, so we are going to circle our answer here. Great. Great, great, great. All right. Do we want to spend some of our time looking at the polynomials? Let's do that. Let's dedicate our time to this, and if we have time left, we can do some more on the front. Okay, let's just do them all the way through. Let's start with number 13. Now, if you don't yet, I would highly recommend getting some colors. I think colors are very, very helpful for whenever you have a lot of different terms that you're trying to combine and keep separate and organized. So again, I'm going to offer to you guys, I have colored pencils over there, I've got markers, I've got highlighters. Please take advantage of it, use them. They're only going to help you. They're only going to help you. I'll give you a minute to go grab some if you need them. right. Just move myself a little. Okay, let's start with number 13. So, first of all, we know that number 13 is an addition problem. There's a plus sign in the middle. So we don't need to do any distribution. All we're doing is combining like terms. When we are simplifying polynomials, we are only adding and subtracting. Don't accidentally multiply here. We are only adding and subtracting. So, since we're not distributing, we can look at our little guide we made and we see that step 1 is we are going to group our like terms by drawing lines to connect them and by putting them in parentheses. So let's go ahead and start with our 5x squared. Do we have another term with x squared? 3x squared. Good. So I'm going to draw a line and just connect these so I know I'm going to be putting them together. Okay. Now let's move on to our next term. I have a 2x. Do I have any more terms with an x? Yep, just x over here. We've got minus x. So we are going to connect to that minus x. All right, and last but not least, I've got plus 3. That's a term without a variable. Do I have anything I can combine that with? Minus 6. So I am going to connect those as well. All right, now that we know which ones are going to go together, we're going to go ahead and put them in their parentheses. So I'm just going to copy down exactly what I see. 5x squared plus 3x squared. And that's it for the greens. Okay, now in between each set, because we are adding, we're going to keep a little plus sign there in between our our like term groups, our parentheses. Okay, now onto the orange or whatever color you got for the second group. We've got our x's. So I'm going to write again exactly what I see. I have a positive 2x. And then over here, remember we want to pay very close attention to what sign is directly next to each term. We have minus x. So we are going to write next to 2x minus x. So now we've got 2x minus x. All right, and then in between each set, I like to keep a little plus sign. And last but not least, let's do our non-variable terms. I've got a 3, and I've got minus 6. So in this set of parentheses, we're just going to write 3 minus 6. Okay. Do we have any questions about how we got to this point so far? All right, we're going to move on then. So we've officially finished step 1. We've put our terms in parentheses, so all we have to do now is combine those like terms, which is just adding and subtracting, guys. All we're doing is solving each of the things in here. It looks a little scarier than it really is. I'm really just doing 5 plus 3 and writing x squared next to it. What's 5 plus 3? 8. And then you got to write your x squared. Good. Now, remember, when we have a variable like x and there's no number in front of it, what does that mean that the number actually is? It's 1. Because if I see an x right here, I can tell by looking at it, there is one x right there. There's just 1. The only time there's more than 1 is if it tells me how many there are, like I got 2 here. So really this problem is 2 minus 1, and then we put an x by it. So what is that? 1x. So you can either just write x by itself, or you can write 1x if that makes you feel a little more comfortable. And we got to bring our plus sign down. Okay. Last but not least, we've got 3 minus 6. What's that? -3. -3. Okay, now, because we got a negative answer, we can just keep it as 8x squared plus 1x minus 3. If I put a plus sign down here, it wouldn't really do a whole lot. When you add a negative, it's the same thing as subtracting. Same thing as subtracting there. So what I would like for you guys to do, just to make sure you keep everything nice and organized, my answer is kind of spread out here. I'm going to rewrite it below. 8x squared plus 1x minus 3. And then I circle it. And that's the whole shebang, guys. That's it there. Any questions about 13? Okay, let's move on. And let's go ahead and just do 15 since it's the other addition problem. And we'll look at subtraction next. So we're doing the exact same process here. If we look at the guide that we wrote at the bottom of our page, we're going to start with step 1, which is grouping our like terms. We're drawing lines to connect them, and we're putting them in parentheses, getting ready to combine them. So let's start with our first term here. We have a 3x squared. Is there anything that I can connect that to? 2x squared. Good. So I'm going to draw a line. I know I'm going to put those together. All right. Next, I have plus x. Do I have any more x's? 3x. Now, make sure we don't forget that sign. It is a minus 3x. So let's combine those. All right. And last but not least, plus 5 goes with plus 5. Great. We're going to connect those. All right. Now I know what's going to go where. So let's go ahead and write our terms in parentheses. In our first parentheses, what am I going to write?
3x squared plus 2x squared.
Good. 3x squared plus 2x squared. All right. Then what do I write? A little plus sign because I'm adding. Good. Next set of terms. I've got, so we've got x, or we could write 1x. Then what?
Minus 3x.
Yes, minus 3x. Okay, last but not least, what are we writing in the third one? 5 plus 5. Wonderful. Okay. Does everybody see how we got to this point? Lovely. Let's do step 2, which is adding and subtracting. We're just going to combine them. What is 3x squared plus 2x squared? 5x squared. Wonderful. What is 1x minus 3x? Ooh. Let's try that one more time. 1 minus 3. If I got $1 in my bank account and I spend $3, how much is my bank account going to say? -2. I got $2 in debt now. So if we have 1 and we take 3 away, not only do we have none left, but we also owe 2.
I don't know how I got.
Did you type it in a calculator or did you work it out?
I typed it in wrong, but yeah, I typed it in.
Gotcha. You probably just hit the wrong button. That's all right. So we got -2x. So since we got a negative answer, remember we can just forget about that plus sign. We're going to write minus 2x. All right, and finally, what's 5 plus 5? 10. And that's a positive 10, so we're going to keep the plus. Okay. Now, I'm going to just rewrite it, make it look a little bit neater. I got 5x squared minus 2x plus 10. And that's it. We're going to circle it. All right. Any questions on 15 before we start the subtraction problems?
You said y'all do the tutor on Friday?
Yes, from 9 a.m. to 12.
Look here. Look here. I gotta do it.
I get you.
You do it. You do it.
You will. You will. Okay. Anything else? Let's move on. Let's check out number 14. Okay. So, as we labeled earlier, this is a subtraction problem, so we have to do an extra step at the beginning. Remember, for subtraction, we start by distributing the negative. And when we distribute a negative, it's going to turn the whole thing into an addition problem. So, let's write that out first. We don't like to subtract here, so we're going to take this and move it to all of the terms. Okay. Now, since we're distributing it, I don't want to forget and keep it a minus. I'm going to go ahead and write plus under here. And then what's going to happen to every one of my terms in this parentheses? What is this negative going to do to all of them? Yeah, it's going to change the sign. So are the numbers going to change?
No.
No, just whether it's positive or negative. So if I have a positive 3x squared, what does it become?
Negative.
Perfect. Negative 3x squared. Now I have minus 2x. What's that become? Plus 2x. And then I have plus 6. What's that become? Yes, it's a negative. Minus 6. All right. Now, just so that I can keep things organized, I'm going to rewrite this down below. I guess you don't have to, but I think it's helpful just to keep it all in a line. So I got negative 6x squared plus 4x plus 3. And notice we didn't touch that first polynomial. We're not doing anything with that. We just rewrote it to keep it in a line. Okay, now that we have done our distribution of the negative, all we got to do is follow the same steps we've been doing. We're going to group our like terms and then we're going to combine them. So let's begin with this number, negative 6x squared. And that's going to connect to what?
Negative 4x squared.
Oh, Lewis, what number are you connecting with?
Negative 3x squared.
Yeah, that's all right. Negative 3x squared. We want to keep our x squareds together. Okay, next set of terms, we have 4x. What does that go with? 2x. So we're going to draw that there. And finally, we have a positive 3 and what? Negative 6. So we're going to connect those two. Okay. Now we just got to put them in parentheses. What are we writing in the first set? Minus 3x squared. Alright, and then our minus turned into a plus here in between the polynomials. So we are still going to be putting plus signs in between all of our sets of parentheses. So what's going to be in our next set? Perfect. 4x plus 2x. And then we've got one more set here. What is that going to be? Yeah, we've got a 3. We've got minus 6. So we're going to write in parentheses 3 minus 6. All right. Now, all we got to do is add and subtract, guys. That's it. What is negative 6 minus 3? Negative 9, and then we keep the x squared on there. Negative 9x squared. How about for our next set of terms? What is that going to be? 6x. We did 4x plus 2x. We got 6x. Perfect. And last but not least again, 3 minus 6 is -3. So again, we can get rid of the plus and just write -3 since it is a negative number. All right. Optional last step, rewrite it. -9x squared plus 6x minus 3. And then always, always, please circle your answer. This is going to be a whole lot of mess to look through if you don't circle it. All right, that was 14. Any questions on that before we go forward? Okay, let's do 16. All right, what are we doing first? Yes, we have to distribute this negative. We don't subtract polynomials, we only add. So in order to do that, we got to get rid of it and turn it into a plus. So let's make that a plus. And what am I going to write below it?
-4x squared. Plus 2x
Good.
minus 10.
Awesome. We changed positive 4x squared to negative. We changed negative 2x to positive. We changed positive 10 to negative. We just flip-flopped everything. And we're going to rewrite the first polynomial. 6x squared plus 4x plus 16. All right. Now what?
6x squared minus 4x squared.
Perfect. 6x squared minus 4x squared, those are going to go together. I'll go ahead and just write them out as we go. 6x squared minus 4x squared. Okay, what's our next one?
4x minus 2x. Oh, yeah. 4x minus 2x.
Okay, so
Minus 2x.
yeah, 4x, and then we changed the minus 2x to a plus 2x. So it's plus 2x there. And we can write underneath 4x plus 2x. Now in between my parentheses, we can't forget our plus sign because we are adding. And last but not least, good, 16 and a minus 10. So those go together. We're going to group them. 16 minus 10. And I can't forget my plus. Okay. Now we have them all grouped. We just need to combine them with addition and subtraction. So, what is 6x squared minus 4x squared? 2x squared. Perfect. All right, now what about 4x plus 2x? 6x. And finally, what is 16 minus 10? 6. Perfect. So for your answer, I'm not going to rewrite it this time. It looks neat enough. We got 2x squared plus 6x plus 6. We cannot combine any further, so we are done. That is your answer for number 16, guys. Any questions on that one? Okay. Well, good, good. All right. Since we have a little more time, are you asking a question, Rhonda? Or are you just stretching?
I'll stretch it.
Got you, girl. Okay, let's flip back to the front page since we do have a little time, and let's look at the ones we haven't done. We've got 1, 3, 6, and 7. Which one of these would you guys like to see the most? Just shout them out. 3. Let's do it. Now remember, these are bonus points for number 3 and 4. So if you get them wrong, it won't be counted against you. You get them right, you get bonus points. So if you get everything right, you can get more than 100% on this test, or this quiz. All right, so I'm going to use colors because it helps me stay organized. And remember, whenever we have an X and a Y or some letters in an expression here, and we have what those letters stand for, so we know X is 3 and Y is 2, all we need to do is replace the letters with the numbers they stand for, and then solve. So I have 6 times X, so I'm going to leave a slot open for my X value, plus Y. So I'm going to make my X red and my Y blue. So what number am I going to write next to 6? 3. 6 times X. X is 3, so I'm doing 6 times 3. Now, after 6 times 3, I'm going to add Y. What is Y? 2. So I'm just doing 6 times 3 plus 2. Now, we have no more variables, so we can solve. What is 6 times 3? 18. We still have a plus 2. What's 18 plus 2? 20. Wonderful. That is our answer. We circle it. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Go ahead. Have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Any questions about number 3? All right. Would we like to check out number 1, number 6, or number 7?
1.
Let's do 1. All right. So in number 1, we are solving the expression using the order of operations. And again, that is always going to be on the left orange wall there if you need to reference it. So what does our order of operations tell us we need to do first? Yeah, we need to do what's in parentheses. And in parentheses, we have 2 plus 3. What is 2 plus 3? 5. Perfect. Now we need to bring everything down. We have 3 times 11 divided by 5. Now what? Yeah, we're going to multiply. So as we go through the steps, I see parentheses. I don't have any more parentheses. Exponents. I don't have any exponents. Multiplication and division. I got that. So let's do it. 3 times 11. 33. Bring down my divided by 5. What is 33 divided by 5? 6.6. Beautiful. Good job, guys. And that's your answer, so you circle it. Okay. We got 6 and 7 left. Which one you want to do? Either one? Let's do 6. We have 4n plus 3 plus 5n minus 2. What should we do first? Oh, my bad, guys. Say that again. Yeah, we want to group and combine our like terms. So let's just start with the first one we see. I have a 4n. What other terms do I have with n's? 5n. All right, so these two are going to go together. And I'll just go ahead and group them. 4n plus 5n. Okay. And then, what else do I have? Good, I've got a 3, and then I've got minus 2. So those are also going to go together. 3 minus 2. All right, and any time that we're combining terms, just like with polynomials, we're always kind of adding in the middle there. Unless we come up with a negative for our second term, then it turns into subtraction. So now all we need to do is solve the 2 problems that we created in parentheses. What is 4n plus 5n? 9n. And then what is 3 minus 2? 1. So I'm going to bring down that plus, and because it is a positive 1, we can keep it. We get 9n plus 1. And we circle it. That's your answer. Any questions on 6? Okay, let's do 7. That's our last one, guys. We have negative 4n plus 10n. What's the situation here? What are we doing exactly? Yeah, we are subtracting. Whenever you add a negative, you're just subtracting. Now, if you don't want to think of it like that, you could also just type this in your calculator and ignore the n's for a minute. So I'm going to show that way first. Remember, our negative is at the bottom right. I could type negative 4 plus 10. What's that going to give me? Positive 6. We could also know, though, that, and I'll write this out to the side, when we add a negative, we're just subtracting. I know that 10n minus 4n is going to also equal the same thing that we got on the calculator, 6n. And that's our answer. That's all we do there, guys. All right. So that is the whole practice quiz, guys. This is exactly what your quiz is going to look like tomorrow. The only difference is there will be different numbers. And I mean, it'll be exact to the point. It'll be some number times some number divided by parentheses, a number plus a number. The B on your quiz is going to be a negative number. I'm telling you, everything will be the same, just different numbers. So if you have this filled out, you're going to do well tomorrow. Use this as a guide. Use this as kind of a help for tomorrow. And I'm hoping that we all can do an excellent job. Before we go, though, today, do we have any lingering questions? Is there anything we're a little confused on? You confused, Angel? Well, we'll get you caught up eventually. We'll get you caught up. I know, it's tough when you miss a bunch of days. So, I know. I know. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording.